So, Warren,
Yes, mate.
Wales-England on Saturday. A few changes to the side. George North comes back in. Just tell us what you want to see from George.
I thought his form in the World Cup was excellent. So, that we were very happy with that midfield combination and sort of bringing that experience in. I just think that we've changed the halfbacks as well. Obviously, probably the 10 decision was forced with Sam not being available, and thought Thomas Williams was excellent when he came on as well. Just even though it appears to be a lot of changes on paper, it's, a few of those have been forced by injury, and a couple by players who have come on and made a really good fist of it.
Changed the whole front row as well. What's their thinking there?
Yeah, Gareth Thomas was unavailable last week because of a hamstring issue, so he's come back. So if he'd been fit last week, he probably would have started. I thought Corey was excellent. Still a little bit up and down in a couple of things for his game, but he's growing all the time as a player. Probably had his best game in a Welsh jersey. So we wanted Gareth to get another game without going too long without playing a lot of rugby, and I thought some guys came off the bench had a huge impact. I thought Alec D was excellent. Thomas was there, Alex Mann as well, and with James Botham sort of picking up an injury as well. So a few changes, but definitely some of them forced and some of them by the performance of players coming off the bench.
You've been involved in a number of wins at Twickenham, but not many of your side have. What is your message to them on Saturday? What does it take to win at Twickenham?
Well, I think for us is building off last week's performance. It's a stadium that I have loved going to. I've had some wins there, starting with the time with Wasps in terms of Premiership finals and Heineken Cup finals. So for me personally, it doesn't hold any trepidation. So I think the fact is for us, starting well, see if we can stop the crowd from singing "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot" too early and too often, and silence them a little bit. That becomes an important factor. We definitely have to start a lot better than we did last week, and we have to reduce the amount of turnovers. Where I think in the first half we were 38% of turnovers, and that really hurt us. Where the second half we were down to 11%, and you saw the difference in the performance, and was probably reflective of the way we played against Australia in the World Cup. I think we were 10 or 11% turnover rate in that game, and so that makes a huge difference. And a number of those things were in our own control in terms of penalties and stuff that we'd given away, or some lineouts that we weren't accurate enough in terms of loss, whether that was someone had missed a call or a poor lift or the throw wasn't quite right. So we've worked hard this week in terms of trying to rectify some of those things.
And just on Twickenham with the atmosphere, I've seen a few of the England players trying to whip the crowd up a little bit ahead of this one, because I think they had a bit of stick from the crowd last time they played there before the World Cup. So it can go both ways. If you do get on top, it's a crowd that can be quite fickle. Yeah,
I think probably both teams are in the same thing. We're trying to create some positivity around the game, and they've kept some experience in their squad. They've picked some new players. They've talked about trying to create an identity in terms of the way that they want to play and be more positive in terms of their attacking stuff. That was genuinely what we wanted to do last week at the start of the game. We wanted to play with some tempo and to attack, and that for me was disappointing. That was the message at half time, was we need to inject some pace into the game. Go out there and play some rugby. Go and play with some tempo, and I thought we achieved that in the second half. So we want to continue in that frame, because the makeup of the side from a physical point of view that may have been there in the past has changed, and that's the nature of players coming through. So we need to adapt, and we need to play differently in certain ways, and we need to play with the players that we've got on the pitch and on the team, and where we can create attacking opportunities as well.
And just lastly from me, I think we've trained down the stadium this week and in the barn.
Yep.
It's due to rain at Twickenham on Saturday potentially. Just the thinking behind perhaps not getting out and getting wet?
We were going to go out today, but the pitch was probably unusual at the moment. There was puddles of water everywhere, so we did contact the stadium about potentially using that, but we couldn't get into that. So yeah, we've looked at the weather forecast. Apparently it's you've got to play in all sorts of conditions, don't you? But potentially a bit drizzly on Saturday, so we're aware of that. We'll probably have a little bit more of an extended captain's run tomorrow, and just be prepared, for what happens. It might drizzle a bit, might rain, but hopefully it's not too bad.
Have you been spraying any water on the balls or anything in training?
No, we're not at the moment, no.
Thank you.
Okay, Gareth?
Warren, were Gareth Davis and Sam Costello fit for selection?
Gareth was. Sam's not fit for selection, yeah.
Johan, how do you think he'll fare? How is he going to go on?
He's still learning the position. He's been working really hard with Neil Jenkins on his kicking strategy and kicking games, and that's one area that he was okay at last week when he came on, but it's a big area for improvement. And just still learning. I think we can see what a quality footballer he is at the moment. He's a running game, his attacking game, and for him it's just trying to nail down one or two positions, whether that's at 10 or 15. I'm not too sure, but we're not trying to put him under any pressure. And I think if he can build on for what he did last week, he probably realises that international rugby there's a little bit less space and not so many opportunities for him as a running threat, and that might only happen once or twice a half. So his game management is pretty important, and also his communication that he's with his outside backs and forwards and scanning and seeing what options are on. So he's still very, very young in terms of experience, and particularly at the 10 and at international rugby. It's his first start there at that position, and so hopefully he continues to grow and goes well.
I did the 47 caps.
Yep.
We allowed to start. It's a sort of the principle you can relate to from your playing days. What were your numbers? I can't quite remember. How many times did you sit on the bench?
I sat on the bench for a long time. Yeah, I had 17 games, but none of them were a test match. So on 4 tours and sat on the bench, I don't know, a long time, 30 tests or something without getting on in the injury days. So I've always liked him as a player. Look, he's not the biggest in the world, but he brings a huge amount of energy to us coming off the bench. And I did speak to him during the World Cup. I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you, you're not going to like this. And but I see you as that role. I see you as being so important for us, and you've done that in the past. When he does come off the field, he doesn't get flustered. He's really accurate. His work rate is outstanding when he's on there in terms of both attack and carrying and defence. And he fulfills a pretty vital role for us. And even though he gets a chance to start this weekend, probably the last time he was the first warm-up game against England where we won at home. He came on after 7 minutes, and I thought he was excellent. So, he's probably fulfilling a role that he does and does brilliantly. But I think he's going to relish getting the opportunity to start this weekend.
Wales have never led at half time in Twickenham in the Six Nations. Only scored 1 try in the first half. Do you know who that was?
I've seen those stats, yeah.
Martin's got the only Welsh player who scored a try in the first half in Twickenham. Why is that?
I've got no idea. I saw the stats, yeah. Well, I think in the past you've always come up against international rugby's normally really tight in that first 20 or 30 minutes, and you've come up against big physical English packs who've been really direct in terms of the way that they've played, and probably in the second half the games opened up a little bit more. Games got a bit looser, and there's been more opportunities to break a team down and to score. So we expect sort of a similar thing from England on the weekend. They were quite direct against England in terms of their ball carriers. They did move the ball a little bit more than they may have done in the past, but depending on the weather conditions, they will potentially attack a bit more. And we've spoken about the kicking game, and if you look at the stats from last week, we've in the end dominated all the stats in terms of carries and offloads and passing and everything against Scotland. But at the end of the day, they kicked more than us. They've ended up winning the game. So, I think there are different reasons for the result. But it's always going to be tough and physical, particularly in that first 20 or 30 minutes. And for them, sometimes it's making sure that your game management's good, that you stay in the fight, don't allow them to dominate you too much, and then your opportunities may come 50, 60 minutes. So they don't give you too many chances. Traditionally with the forward pack they normally put out, it's probably not the biggest England forward pack that they've traditionally had. When you look at with Ethan Root's 110, I think the other two Lucy's are just over 100, maybe 103, 106. So we've probably got a bigger loose forward tree, or about the same side loose forward tree than they have.
Warren, we know what this fixture means to the Welsh public. Is it extra special for you too? Is there added buzz this week?
No, no, not at all. It's just like I said, I think it's two teams probably going through a similar sort of transition in terms of the squads, and it's a great game to go because it's the tradition. I think the history of it. We spoke about. I think it doesn't matter what Welsh team that you put out. I think the players can go out there knowing that from history people have earned respect to go and play an English side, so tended to play above themselves, and I don't see any difference from that on Saturday. I think we go up there. We got a build on last week. We don't go with any trepidation. I think that from my experience and seeing the players interact afterwards and seeing players on Lions tours, everyone talks about hating English, but I've always seen just how close and how well the Welsh players and English players get on, and so that for me is something to look forward to, and just the respect that I have. I was very fortunate to have nearly 4 years in London. I loved my time there. We made some great friends in London. I was lucky enough to coach some great English players, and so I go there really looking forward to the challenge.
And George North, I know the qualities he'll bring on the field, but what's it been like this week having him back amongst the group, and now with so much aura, and his record speaks for itself? Yeah,
I think his 50th game for the Six Nations is a fantastic achievement. What he does bring to the squad is that experience and calmness and a voice, and he communicates really well within the group. Really well respected, and I still think he's got a few more years left in him as well. So he's had his ups and downs with injury over the years, but he looks in pretty good nick, and I just hope that combination with him and Tompkins can flourish like it did in the World Cup.
Owen?
When you talk about the journey, the transition that
Yeah.
the team's in at the moment, can you contextualise that, as in compare it to your previous Wales teams, where this team is now compared to bringing others through this group compared to others?
I think we've got the complete spectrum of the squad. And some players haven't. We've got some players in here who we think have got the talent to be really good players, but they're green as anything, and they haven't had a lot of regional rugby. But people, they've had some underage experience, and so they're here at the moment just learning, and we're trying to fast track them. And we've got some young players that have had a few games. I mean, they're still learning the trade, and then we've got the other end. We've got some experience as well. So I think we've got the complete spectrum of the squad, and we're probably in a little bit of a different situation at the moment in terms of the way that we're training compared to, say, the time that we had together with the World Cup, when we had that 4 or 5 months, when we think physically we were in really good shape and we had a bit more experience in the squad, where now we've got, like I said, a lot of youngsters, a number of those experienced guys that have gone. So our training model in terms of what we're putting the players through and the stress that we're putting them under is probably a little bit different than we would have done, I said, during the World Cup preparation or even last year. In terms of trying to get them up to speed for international rugby as quickly as we possibly can, and some of them are finding it a challenge and difficult, but it's a model that I've found that's worked incredibly well for us. It might take a little bit of time, but it's for them to how do you fast track people, how do you get them to experience or to learn what it's like to be playing in front of 75, 80,000 people under immense pressure, where you're having to make split-second decisions quicker than you ever normally would. And it's probably the only analogies that I can say. If you look at cricketers and that who have come out of county cricket, have been facing bowlers at 70 or 80 mile an hour and are comfortable, and all of a sudden they go and play in a test match and someone's bowling 95. Well, unless you've experienced it, how do you do it? You've got to, the only way you can do it is maybe get 95 in the nets every single day, and it's not the same as being out in the middle, but it's kind of the same sort of scenario and the same sort of things that we're trying to do at trainings to get these players up to speed.
Charles?
Warren, just a few from me. Is Johan Lloyd fully fit? I've seen a few announcements this morning that he might be struggling, but presumably he's...
He trained fully today.
Right.
On Tuesday, he just felt his hamstring was a bit tight, and they said after the training session they treated him. There's a little bit of neural stuff, but he's trained fully. So they didn't think it was a strained hamstring, just someone who's probably doing things a little bit quicker and faster than he's normally doing, and he's just tightened up a little bit. So so he got through today all right. And we were, having spoken to the physios yesterday, they didn't think it was going to be an issue.
And you mentioned about Twickenham and how there's no personal trepidation for you going there. What was there when you first started going? Is it still as an intimidating a place as, or was it more intimidating then than what it is now, I suppose?
No, because the first 4 times I went there we won, so 3 premiership finals and a Highland Cup final, so I kind of never no, I don't find it intimidating at all. I think it's a great, when you come in the gates there and you've got everyone outside and the fans there all sort of around the stadium. I think it's a great stadium to walk into an entrance. It's I don't find that. I love the atmosphere, and it's even more special if you can walk away there with a win. So and it's not easy to do. It's but I said we've prepared well this week, and we need to build on the second half from last weekend.
James Dolman, your compatriot, is the referee this weekend.
Yeah.
What are you expecting from him in terms of what we saw from England in the second half and their difference in defending and their blitz, and how both teams are going to have to adapt to a Southern Hemisphere official, which they don't usually sort of get on a weekly basis?
Yeah, well, I think with James, he was on the touch judge of an AR last week, so he's seen us play. So I'm not. I thought Bianchi, I was happy enough with him in terms of the way they officiated. There was no issues with the referees from last week. There's no doubt that Felix Jones has come and had a bit of an impact in terms of England with their line speed, having been involved with blitz defences in the past and really aggressive line speed. Probably your tackle percentage goes down. You get some more system errors. It's a real risk and reward system to operate. So it's going to take them a little bit of time in terms of the way that they've changed their defence up, and we've got to be smart about that in terms of trying to break that down or stop some of that line speed, and how we go about doing that. We saw Italy open them up a couple of times and make able to do that, but so we've spoken quite a lot about this week about those opportunities to do that. So it's going to be it's like playing a little bit of a game of chess there for a while when how you try and manipulate and break someone down from doing that. And like I said, it's for them when they change something like that. So it does take a while to implement, so it's not going to happen for them overnight. And so it'd be interesting to see how that progression goes.
And just finally from me, just before the tournament, you said that your captain, Dave Jenkins, is sort of in the mould of Alan Jones.
Yeah.
Presumably, from what happened in the second half on Saturday's match, you've not seen anything sort of contrary in that regard. And what sort of leadership qualities did you see in that second half from him in the way of sort of galvanising that comeback?
I thought he was great at half time, so he's still a young man and he's still learning, and we're building some players around him. So it's not about him what he says. It's about actions, and two players. If I looked at the stats and looked at the numbers afterwards, were absolutely outstanding. And their numbers were Dafford and Tommy Raffel. I thought their work rate was extraordinary. And I'll be honest, we had a discussion during the week. Would we consider playing them at 6 and Will Rowlands in there? But it's not where we are. It's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop a group of players, and that would be, a one-off short-term solution. I see him as being a world-class international lock in a number of years, and you've seen teams that have experimented that with the passer in 2007. Wales went up there with Alan Jones as a 6, and England put 60 points on us, and the World Cup in 2019 with Scott Barrett. I know he's played a bit there at 6 against England. So there's not a lot of examples where sort of that lock 6 works, and maybe Courtney Laws is probably the best in that mould. So so it was a good discussion with the coaches this week about what we did. Did we leave Alex Mann back on the bench and take a little bit of pressure off him and bring on the second half and have the impact that he did last week? But it's not where we are. It's kind of like, no, we need to throw this kid in. We need to fast track him and keep developing as a player, because we think he's going to be a quality player. He might find it a lot more difficult because things will be a lot tighter in that first half, but that's the role that we kind of feel that we're in at the moment. It's about making these guys better players and not chopping and changing too much. And again, we brought Dylan Lewis in with Leon Brown. We could have put him in as a starter because he's more experienced, but said no, this is not. We want to be consistent with what we're trying to do. It's Kieran Azaradi there and Archie Griffin's come on the bench, and Dylan might get an opportunity later in the tournament. We'll see how it goes. So I just hope that people can see what we're, as a group, that our role is, that we've got a group, and it might take a little bit of time, but we think with time and time together with this group of coaching and players, we're going to end up with a quality side and quality experienced team that could be Saturday or it could be the following week. But definitely we already feel like we're on the right, making the right progress in terms of a group together.
Warren, will you have to hold Jenks back when he's Emmanuel that you were both over the rows on his shirt?
No, look, we haven't even spoken about him, and look, he's made his decision, so good luck to him. So it's kind of like there's been no mention of his name whatsoever. So it was look, Jinx has made that comment in jest to me in the room. He just said, he's made a decision to play for England, and Jinx being the ultra proud Welshman as he is, kind of said, it was a bit more aggressive than the words weren't, rather than stuff you if he doesn't want to play for Wales and bugger him. So, and I love that. I just think that it's showing how proud you are to be Welsh. It's kind of, you don't want to be Welsh, then piss off, So.
Do you think that adds extra spice to the game of Welsh?
No, it doesn't. It does not add any extra spice. I said, we have not spoken. He's made a decision to play for England. We haven't spoken about it. We're not. It's not kind of like if he wanted spice, we'd be targeting him or going after. It's just none of our tactics have mentioned his name or anything. He's just made a decision to play for England. There's a lot of players from both countries who are dual qualified, and they make decisions, whatever. And in the past, we've had players that have been English qualified and made the decision to play for Wales, have been down here. He's in Exeter and doing that, and has made that decision. So, like I said, good luck to him. I hope things go well for him.
Stefan?
Warren, your Lloyd is probably a bit different in terms of style to some of the other 10s we've picked recently. Does that mean that you have to change your attacking style as well? Because rightly or wrongly, he's seen as more of a looser attacking style number 10 that perhaps you'd see more in Super Rugby, perhaps.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard. I'm sort of really frustrated. We've got Nick Tompkins as well, so we can't play Warren ball at the moment. Whatever that is, I don't know. I still haven't tried to work out what Warren ball is, but so we have to find other ways to get across the gain line. Look, he's an instinctive player, and so we need to allow him that opportunity to express himself. But it's also him being smart, saying that it's not forcing it. It's not going after things when there isn't their chances. And like I said, that may take 20 or 30 minutes before he gets an opportunity or a break. It's kind of like the worst thing you can do is go out there and try and make a gap and get caught and get turned over and then find himself under a little bit of pressure. So it's kind of like saying, just go out there, play, be instinctive, play yourself, and hopefully he gets I'm sure he will, with the support from someone like Thomas Williams and Nick Tompkins and George North outside, and giving him some good communication and direction as well to make his job easy, because that is so important with 10s. Their whole thing is just concentrating, looking at the V and the quality ball and the speed of ball that they're getting, and then maybe some scanning, but making sure that information, they're not making those decisions. That decision making is coming from outside, from what the people outside them are seeing, to communicate that into him, so that helps his decision making. But yeah, there is times when the game will open up and loosen up, and you've got to play heads up rugby, and he's got the ability, to be able to do that. So he's definitely got the freedom to do that, and that's always been the messaging from me. It's always been, I would rather, what I've always said to people, if you've got a 4-on-2 on a goal line, then I expect you to see that and communicate and shift it. The last thing I want to do is see someone kick the ball away when there's an opportunity to attack. And but there is a lot of pressure, and that there's less space and less time in international rugby, and you have to wait for your moments, and you have to manage the game well. And when you do get those chances, you've got to hopefully have the ability to be able to exploit them.
One player, rightly or wrongly, probably harshly, that gets a lot of criticism on social media is Adam Beard, perhaps because he doesn't do the flashy stuff of other players. Can you just explain just how important is Adam to your team in terms of not just leadership but technically on the field? Just how important a cog is he in this Welsh part? He's
surprisingly a lot more skillful than people think. He's got very good hands and stuff. He's a very, very intelligent rugby player. He's important for us from his line out calling and things. And he's always open to listen and for suggestions and willing to learn. And I've heard and seen some of the criticism from him and from the outside, and it does surprise me. People can come and watch him train if they want to. I'm more than happy for some of those critics to come and take a training session as well if they're ever up for it, because some people seem to know a hell of a lot about the game. So if they can come in and offer the services for a training session, or come and talk to Adam and face to face, I'm more than comfortable for that to happen too.
Okay, and then we'll finish up with Rob.
Don't forget, Warren, you won your first time with Wales at 12.
Yeah, I
and
did.
You picked up a triple crown. So never mind the forward blocks. Rio Dyer said that you weren't very shouty at half-time last weekend, which
I wasn't.
you weren't, which you
No.
would have had plenty of justification to be so.
Yeah.
But I just wondered how you've been this week, and is it the same calm, measured approach because you could see the small building blocks that you
Yeah, it's trying to be that. Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, with young men and these days, you got to pick your moments. If you lose your temper, how effective is that going to be once or twice in a year or twice in a season? So you definitely got to pick your moments, because the last thing that players want to hear is coaches screaming and yelling all the time, and so I think it's just giving good, concise messages. I thought, actually, Stephen, Adam Jones at the half-time was excellent last week in terms of the messages he delivered. And it easily could have been one of those games where you're looking and you're going half-time, is this going to go one or two ways? They could have just thought, oh, bugger it, thrown in the towel and lost by 40 points and thought, let's regroup and start thinking about next week. But they showed some amazing character, and that's what I was so pleased about. So, and that's probably for me, when I look at it, it's probably more important than the result. It's kind of like, yeah, we've got some guys in here that mean something to them, and that they would have been disappointed with first half, and they've gone out there and put a few things right. So yeah, and I think it's important from coaches that you're trying to be calm and concise, and that because you can't, at half time, you can't change what has already happened, isn't it? So how do you deliver things that are, it's not as if, I didn't feel as if, not as if we weren't trying, it's just that we were shooting ourselves in the foot with a lot of the things. And so probably if you're going to lose your temper, you're probably losing your temper over you don't feel there's enough effort, or mentally we're not quite on the right page.
So is it at all frustrating as a coach rebuilding a team and knowing perhaps your win ratio is not going to be as high as it could, or is it just that you're in that process?
Look, we're in that process at the moment. We're kind of we felt that we've done that as a group before in the past. We've been able to get teams up and running a lot quicker than people might have expected, or to bring players through. And we've got a group at the moment, and one or two of them might not make the grade because they're going to be good regional players or good club players, and might not be able to make the step up to international. And then some, we think actually they're going to be good players, but it might be 6 months, 12 months. Go back to, we saw a guy, we thought this guy could be, it was Dan Lydiard. I saw him there and went, yeah, we see something raw and potential. When he first started, he was just, he was a bit like a rabbit in headlights and stuff, didn't know what was going on. And so 12 months he started to show something about what he could bring to the table. So some players are a bit quicker than that, others take a little bit of time. Yeah, so I'm excited about the journey we're on. I'm kind of excited about what we've got, and we've just got to keep building on that. And when it happens, I'm not sure, but hopefully this weekend we go up there. I can promise we're not afraid to go to Twickenham. We're there, and we had 2 close games in the World Cup warm-ups. We won the first one. We were blowing the second one when we should have put that to bed. And so I think we can go there, and looking at them from last week, I think they'll be better, and hopefully we're better as well.
Thank you.
Just on the point around the half-time, there is a clip on our social channels which shows some of the messaging that Warren delivered, and Adam Beard as well, if you've not seen it. So that you can see it direct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Thank you.